Hi there, students. A narrative. Okay, a narrative is a story. It's a description of events. So the film has a fast-moving narrative of medieval times. The story is a gripping narrative of how he escaped from a prisoner of war camp. So the narrative, we have a narrator narrates a story, narrates a narrative. Now we can also use this word, a narrative, to talk about a particular way of understanding something, a particular way of explaining things. So maybe various people have the same experience, but each of them have a different narrative. You could have, for example, if there is a war, then people on different sides will have a different narrative. Okay, so the narrative is how something is told. The grand narratives of a nation. The narrative is always according to the winner, the person who has won the battles. So narrative is telling a story, describing a series of events. So for example, you could have a narrative poem that tells a story, it tells what happens. So I don't know, Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade. This is a narrative poem. So the narrative is the way in which a particular person or a particular situation is explained, is told. So if you look at the political right, they have one narrative about what is happening. And if you look at the political left, they have another narrative about what is happening. So the narratives are different, although they are both looking at the same situation. It's telling a story. It's the way a story's told. A narrative is something that is narrated. He gave a detailed narrative of his life in the autobiography. The narrative, the way of presenting things. So, I don't know, the narrative of the Vietnam War perhaps would depend if you were from South Vietnam, from North Vietnam, or from America. The narrative perhaps is different. Okay, so you can have different narrative devices, ways of telling a story. But a narrative, it's an account of a series of events. The film has a very fast-moving narrative. A series of events, normally in a novel. Okay, so a simple narrative style is where they are telling a story rather than just describing how things looked. So the narrative of what's happening is interesting. The narrative refers to a structured account of a sequence of events. It's a means of communication. So a narrative is a noun. To narrate is the verb. Narrative is the adjective, and I guess you could have narratively speaking. So the author put together a captivating narrative. Her narrative skills meant that she described what happened very clearly. His storytelling abilities make him an expert of narrative. The documentary has a compelling narrative and shows the story of various different people in this situation. The narrative challenged readers' ideas of what was actually happening. So the painting gave the idea of a narrative that was more than just a visual picture. She told a narrative about her adventures as a child. The narrative of the film captured the feeling of the time. Um, from the narrative that he gave, it was very clear that his view of the situation was narrative. Her narrative challenged challenged the view of the status quo. Okay, so narrative. It's a story. It's a way something is told. So let's see. Formality, narrative. Well, formality. I think I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a 6 in formality. But so using a semi-formal conversation, semi-formal or formal writing. And then as to origin, okay, it comes from Latin through French, narrare, to tell, telling of a story, to narrate. So narrative.